All right. Another week of Startup Vagabond weekly news. Let's get it started. So this week in international startup news, China is preparing a massive AI memory chip IPO. Singapore is funding rice decarbonization and enterprise AI. Brazil has restaurants ordering through WhatsApp. And Europe is stacking capital behind AI, defense, semiconductors, and industrial climate tech. As usual, Europe is focused on climate tech. Surprise, surprise. The bigger theme this week is infrastructure, not just roads and bridges, but chips, energy, AI system, payments, and food supply chains, and the industrial backbone behind the next technology cycle. Last week, we talked a whole lot about, things were shifting away from just pure AI into Sakana AI and Claude and GPT and all the big names that you know of, and more towards robotics. Looks like we're getting more of the same, but a lot more energy, payment systems, and food supply chains this week. So good to see that trend is continuing of less into the AI software and more into the hardware that is keeping everything moving. Starting in Asia, as usual, in China. The next big AI IPO is memory chips. Chinese memory chip company Chongqing, CHANG Memory Technologies is reportedly preparing to raise more than 8.5 billion USD in what could become one of China's largest semiconductor IPOs. The AI hardware race is moving beyond GPUs into memory, packaging, power, and the entire supply chain underneath artificial intelligence. Moving over to Japan, another fusion startup enters the race. Kyoto-based Starlight Engine raised about 6.06 billion yen, or roughly 37 million USD, for its next-generation fusion power project. Japan already has momentum in robotics and advanced manufacturing, and now fusion is becoming another serious deep tech category. Web3 gets the national strategy treatment. At WebX 2026 in Tokyo, Japan reaffirmed its goal of becoming a major Web3 and startup hub. The headline policy angle is proposed shift toward a flat 20% crypto tax rate, which would make Japan much more attractive for digital asset founders and investors. Moving to South Korea, ModPick uses AI for cross-border shopping. South Korean startup ModPick, ModPick, raised seed funding to automate cross-border e-commerce. Its AI agents help with customs, logistics, fraud detection, and premium product sourcing, which is exactly the kind of unglamorous workflow AI can make faster. Over in Singapore, Rise raises 31 million USD for cleaner rice farming. Singapore-based agritech company Rise, RIZE, raised 31 million USD to reduce emissions from rice farming across Southeast Asia. This is a very regional climate tech story because rice is essential to the economy, but also one of the world's more climate-intensive crops. Pixverse, Pixverse, raises big for generative worlds. Singapore-based AI video platform Pixverse expanded its Series C to 439 million USD and crossed a 2 billion USD valuation. The company wants to move beyond simple text to video and build interactive, real-time digital worlds for gaming and entertainment. Whale adds 40 million USD for enterprise AI. Singapore enterprise AI company Whale, WHLE, like the animal, added $40 million USD to its Series C round. The company focuses on AI systems that connect with sensors, computer vision, and real-world business workflows, which fits the broader shift from chatbot demos to actual enterprise automation. In Indonesia and Singapore, Rupiah, RUPIAH, stablecoins go cross-border. Indonesian fintech IDRX showcased its regulated Rupiah-backed stablecoin infrastructure in Singapore. The idea is to make remittances and cross-border payments cheaper while also opening the door to tokenized real-world assets and intellectual property. In VC news in Asia, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan build a capital corridor. Venture capital associations from Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan met to build a more integrated regional investment corridor. The goal is to connect Japan and Korea's industrial technology strengths with Taiwan's semiconductor ecosystem. Between South Korea and Saudi Arabia, a new AI and semiconductor fund. South Korea and Saudi Arabia are working on a joint technology development fund focused on AI and semiconductors. This is another example of countries using venture capital as a diplomatic and industrial policy tool. Tech companies want global capital, obviously. Asian technology companies have raised record amounts through international capital markets this year. The catch is that global investors are getting more selective, and the strongest demand is going towards companies tied directly to AI infrastructure. In other ecosystem news, local AI models become workforce strategy. Japanese companies and research groups are building specialized local language models using NVIDIA's Nemotron framework. The goal is not just better chatbots, it is AI agents and remote presence robots that can help Japan manage labor shortages. In Vietnam, the startup program gets more serious. Vietnam's Next Wave of Startups initiative is shifting from pitch competition into a structured accelerator model. The new version includes direct investment pathways, ecosystem resources, corporate pilots, and more support from commercialization. And wrapping up Asia and Singapore, AI startup becomes buyers. Singapore-based accounting automation startup Simple AI raised 15 million USD for acquisition-led growth. That is an interesting shift. AI startups are not just raising money to build products, but they are starting to buy fragmented software markets. Now to hear what happened last week in Latin America. In startup news, Brazil, OMIE raises 160 million USD for SME software. Sao Paulo-based OMI raised 160 million USD for its ERP and business management software platform. The round shows that Latin American investors still like practical cash-flowing software that helps small and mid-sized businesses run finance, operations, and payments. Restaurants move into WhatsApp commerce. Brazilian restaurant tech startup Brendi, BRENDI, raised 6.6 million USD to help restaurants manage ordering, payments, menus, and customer interactions directly through WhatsApp. This is a classic Latin American startup move. Instead of forcing users into a new app, build around the behavior people already have. Over in Mexico, Mango automates construction finance. Mexico City fintech Mango raised 6.6 million USD to automate construction financing, subcontractor invoices, and B2B material payments. The nearshoring boom is creating demand for more construction and industrial capacity. The startups are building the financial rails around that growth. One Car Now, all one word, expands into Brazil. Mexican fintech One Car Now is expanding its gig economy vehicle financing and fleet management platform into Brazil. The company is using driver data and embedded credit to help delivery operators access and manage vehicles across Latin America. In Uruguay, Mexico, and Argentina, TripWhip bets on car sharing. Uruguayan car sharing startup TripWhip raises 4.2 million USD to expand across Mexico and Argentina. It connects private car owners with renters, giving Latin America another asset-light mobility model built around local insurance and tourism networks. Stablecoins move into everyday payments. Exodus partnered with regional streaming services DGO and Sky Plus to let users in Argentina, Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil pay subscriptions using stablecoins. This is not just another crypto speculation. It shows how digital dollars are becoming a practical payments tool in markets with currency volatility. In VC news in Latin America, a quiet week after mega rounds. Latin America had a quieter funding week compared with recent run of major fintech rounds. That does not mean the market is dead. It means smaller, practical B2B companies are getting attention, with late-stage capital continues to come in waves. In Argentina, funding is already ahead of last year. Argentine startup funding in 2026 reportedly already passed the country's total for 2025. The ecosystem is still smaller than Brazil or Mexico, but Argentina continues to produce strong fintech and technical talent despite difficult macro environments. To touch on that macro environment, long story short, Argentina is not doing very well right now financially. So we will see what long-term looks like, which is crazy because, whenever Javier Milei got in, they had such a booming economy for the first year and a half, 2 years of his presidency. But now things are not looking so hot. So we will see what they do, especially for somebody who ran on such a small government, non-interventionist brand. We will see how much they intervene. And our final story for Latin America. The operating system is still being built. The strongest Latin America stories this week are not about flashy consumer apps. They were about ERP software, construction finance, vehicle financing, restaurant payments, car sharing, and stablecoin infrastructure. All right, moving right on to Europe and startup news. Germany, Prior Labs goes from launch to billion euro exit. German AI startup Prior Labs, PRIOR, is reportedly being acquired by SAP in a deal worth more than 1 billion euros, only about 18 months after launch. Even by AI standards, this is an extremely compressed startup lifecycle. Nextgo, NEXTGO, EPI targets the semiconductor supply chain. Berlin-based Nexigo EPI raised 2 million euros to produce gallium oxide wafers for high-power electronics. This is a small round, but it fits a big trend. Europe wants more control over the materials and components behind chips, electric vehicles, and energy infrastructure. Europe with more regulation, who would have guessed? H Company raises a giant AI seed round. Paris-based H Company raised 220 million euros to build multi-agent foundational AI systems. The company was founded by former DeepMind researchers and is part of France's broader push to build sovereign AI capacity. Synthetica tackles nylon recycling. Paris-based Synthetica, SYNTETICA, raised 26.1 million euros to industrialize nylon recycling technology. The company is going after a hard problem in fashion and industrial materials: how to recycle mixed synthetic textiles at commercial scale. Fractile builds faster AI chips in the UK. London-based Fractile raised $15 million USD for in-memory AI interference chips. The goal is to run advanced AI models faster and cheaper by changing how computing happens inside the chip itself. In the UK still, Greenjets raises for drone interception. Interesting. British aerospace startup Greenjets raised around 35 million euros with backing connected to NATO's innovation ecosystem. The company is developing propulsion and aircraft technologies that fit directly into Europe's growing defense tech stack. Valerian raises a 50 million USD for secure AI. London-based Valerian, VALARIAN, raised 50 million USD to help governments and regulated industries use generative AI without exposing sensitive data. As AI moves into defense, finance, and national security, security layers around the models become just as important as the models themselves. Applied Computing builds AI for heavy industry. Applied Computing raised about 20 million USD for a physics ground foundation model built for chemical engineering and energy operations. This is a good example of AI moving away from general chat and into very specific industrial workflows. Excited to see more of that in the future. Draig Therapeutics, DRAIG, raised $65 million USD for depression treatment. Cardiff-based Draig Therapeutics raised a $65 million round to advance clinical trials for a depression drug candidate. It is a strong reminder that Europe's deep tech story is not only chips and defense, life sciences are also a major part of the ecosystem. Sable, Saible, takes on construction late payments. Birmingham-based Sable raised £2.9 million to help construction subcontractors and suppliers get paid faster. It's a very practical fintech story in a sector where payment delays can create real cash flow problems for smaller businesses. And over in Germany, Omio buys Rail Europe. Berlin-based travel platform Omio, agreed to acquire Rail Europe. The deal gives Omio a much larger rail ticketing footprint and continues the trend of European tech companies using acquisitions to consolidate fragmented markets. In VC news in Europe, the EIB wants 80 billion euros for growth stage tech. The European Investment Bank launched the next phase of the European Tech Champions initiative, aiming to mobilize up to 80 billion euros for growth stage European technology companies. The goal is to fix one of Europe's biggest startup problems: not enough local capital for companies after they break out. Defense capital keeps stacking up. Lockheed Martin Ventures is operating a London office and earmarking at least $100 million USD for European defense and national security startups. At the same time, Warsaw-based Expeditions closed a 197 million euro fund, and Lakestar launched a $300 million USD resilience fund focused on defense and strategic technology. Over in Spain, more capital for deep tech and liquidity. Spain's Criteria CAIXA is restructuring its venture activity around a roughly 300 million euro push into Iberian biotech and deep tech. Acurio Ventures also launched a 115 million euro vehicle focused on VC liquidity, which matters because Europe needs more ways for investors to get money back without waiting for IPOs. In other ecosystem news in Europe, France and Germany. Europe wants its own military AI backbone. France and Germany signed a declaration to build a sovereign European alternative to American military AI systems. This is not just a defense story. It is about who controls sensitive battlefield data, software, infrastructure, and procurement in Europe. Industrial tech is replacing the old SaaS narrative. This week's European stories were dominated by chips, AI infrastructure, defense, recycling, industrial software, life sciences, and energy. The old Europe needs more SaaS unicorns narrative is being replaced by something more physical and strategic. So that's it for this week. Asia is building around AI infrastructure, semiconductors, climate tech, and regional capital corridors. Latin America had a quieter week, but still showed signs of strength in practical operating software and payments. And Europe is pounding money into defense, AI chips, industrial software, and deep tech. The bigger takeaway is that global startup ecosystems are moving toward harder problems. Less hype around generic apps, more capital going into infrastructure that powers countries, companies, and entire industries. I'm Grant Watkins, and this is the Startup Vagabond's weekly updates. I'll see you next week for another quick tour of global startup news. Arigato, Jane.